Welcome. This is the third segment in the series on how to build professional WordPress websites. Now, in this segment, we're going to be talking about WordPress hosting, and we're going to talk about a few companies that offer hosting. We're going to talk about the different kinds of hosting, and we're also going to talk about reselling hosting if you plan to ever have a business and sell hosting to your clients. So we're going to do the rest of this video on my laptop so I can kind of show you a few places to go and a few things to look for. So see you there.
I wanted to start this off by showing you a little image that I found that represents the different kind of hostings in a great way. And that's this image here on the right. And I found it at hostingfacts.com. And so basically it shows you three different kinds of hosting and what they most resemble in real life. And so shared hosting is like an apartment, VPS is like a townhome, and dedicated is like a house. So the way to think of that is each of these buildings is their own server. So with an apartment, you may have a ton of people and everybody is sharing everything. Whereas a townhome, you still have people living with you, but nothing is shared. And on a dedicated server, it's kind of like a house. You have your own server. So to go into more detail, come down here. So another good image is this right here to talk about shared hosting versus VPS. And so the way to think about it is on shared, everybody is competing for all the resources on their server. So you could run into a problem if one of the other websites on your server is very successful, and it works both ways. If your site is very successful, it could be problematic for other people on the same server as you. Now with VPS, everybody is still on the same server, but everybody is given a predetermined amount of RAM and disk space to use, and once they hit that, their site will go down and it won't affect any of the other people on the server. So it's kind of like having a really small dedicated server where people are on your server but they're not affecting your performance. Now, dedicated servers are really only for people who have a, this says right here, over 100,000 visits per month. So if you're reaching levels of that, then absolutely it would be a good idea to look into dedicated hosting. But most of the time, you shouldn't have a problem starting out with shared hosting, and then eventually, if you start to run into some issues, moving up to VPS. But dedicated hosting, it gives you your own server and it eliminates, a ton of the issues that you'll run into if you try to run high traffic on, say, a VPS server. You won't be able to hit that limit because the limit is so big. So those are three of the hosting options that you have. And now a couple of the sites that I would recommend. I personally have experience with both of these, and that is SiteGround and Bluehost. And of the two, SiteGround has gotten quite a bit of better review as far as WordPress goes. Now, I personally like Bluehost just because this was actually the first hosting that I ever started with. So I kind of know the ins and outs of them. They both have WordPress hosting options. They both have options to upgrade and whatnot. Now, the one thing that SiteGround does have that Bluehost doesn't is reseller hosting. And so this really only applies to you if you're starting, a web design business or even, like a maintenance business for websites, and you want to take advantage of having your own, server or your own hosting that you can sell back to your clients at a profit. and SiteGround allows you to do that. But obviously, if you're just creating your site, or you're not running a business that involves web design, or trying to sell hosting, then you don't need to worry about the reseller. So both of these offer great options. Bluehost is based on a yearly plan, so you have to pay up front for the year. However, they do give a money back guarantee, and I've personally canceled with Bluehost on one of my accounts, and they prorated my payment. I've gotten the money back without a problem, no issues. Contacted support, and they got it back to me right away. So as of right now, I have 3 years worth of hosting. Whether or not I'll stick with them for 3 years, it doesn't matter, because I can get that money back. SiteGround has a monthly fee, and the thing that I want to say about Bluehost that I truly enjoyed was their customer service. It is 24/7, but obviously they have hours that are better than others. But every single time I've reached an agent, I've told them my problem, and they've either walked me through it if I asked them to walk me through it, or they went into the back end and they fixed the problem for me. So I've never had an issue with them. And the only reason I had issues in the first place was because it was my first hosting. I kind of tried a bunch of stupid stuff, thinking oh, it doesn't matter, and ended up having to fix it. So I kind of learned my lesson when I started using SiteGround. So I haven't really had to use the customer service. You'll see reviews online that they have great customer service as well. But those are just two hostings that you can work with, two that I've personally worked with, and two that I would recommend. So to recap, there's a few different kinds of hosting that you want to look at. There's the shared hosting, the VPS hosting, the dedicated hosting, and if you are planning on running a business and doing web maintenance, then there is reseller hosting, and that is available on SiteGround as well as other websites. But I would recommend, if you're running WordPress, to either use SiteGround or Bluehost. There's HostGator. There's a few out there. Really, what helps is to figure out what you need and then do a search for the best WordPress hosting and just read the reviews. There's tons of reviews on websites, and just choose the one that works for you. These people, they bought the hosting, they've tested it, they've even, went into way more tech than what I do, and they work with testing every single aspect of it, and you'll be able to find something that works for you. So I hope this video helped. If it did, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.